Meryl Streep, widely regarded as one of the greatest actresses in the history of cinema, was born Mary Louise Streep on June 22, 1949, in Summit, New Jersey, USA. Raised in a supportive and culturally enriched household, Meryl was the daughter of Mary Wilkinson Streep, a commercial artist and art editor, and Harry William Streep Jr., a pharmaceutical executive. From an early age, she displayed a keen interest in performance and the arts, although she initially saw herself as somewhat ordinary and shy. During her high school years at Bernard's High School in New Jersey, Streep began to develop her unique voice and confidence. She joined the school choir and participated in theater productions, discovering a powerful sense of self-expression through acting. Her natural talent soon became evident, and by the time she reached college, she had already begun to consider a serious future in the performing arts. Meryl Streep attended Vassar College, where she majored in drama. She also spent time studying abroad and later earned a Master of Fine Arts (MFA) from the prestigious Yale School of Drama. While at Yale, she honed her craft under the guidance of some of the finest instructors in the field and participated in more than 30 productions. Her ability to transform into characters with emotional precision and her incredible mastery of accents and dialects became her trademarks even during these formative years. Her classmates and professors quickly recognized that she possessed an extraordinary talent. After graduating, Streep began her career on stage, appearing in numerous New York City theater productions. She earned early acclaim in 1975 for her performance in the play 27 Wagons Full of Cotton by Tennessee Williams, which earned her a Tony Award nomination. Her stage work quickly led to attention from the film and television industry, and by the late 1970s, she had transitioned to screen acting. Her first significant television appearance came in 1977 with the miniseries Holocaust, in which she played Inga Helms-Weiss. The performance was so powerful that it earned her an Emmy Award and brought her widespread recognition. That same year, she made her film debut in Julia, alongside Jane Fonda and Vanessa Redgrave, though her role was small. Still, it marked the beginning of a prolific and influential film career. Streep's true cinematic breakthrough came in 1978 with The Deer Hunter, in which she starred opposite Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken. Though she had a relatively modest amount of screen time, her nuanced performance was unforgettable and earned her the first of many Academy Award nominations. That same year, she married sculptor Don Gummer, with whom she would raise 4 children while navigating the complex world of fame. Her momentum only grew with 1979's Kramer vs. Kramer, where she played Joanna Kramer, a woman who walks away from her marriage and later returns to fight for custody of her child. Her performance was both tender and fiercely intelligent, earning her her first Academy Award win for Best Supporting Actress. From that point on, Meryl Streep's name became synonymous with excellence in acting. In these early years, Meryl Streep carved out a reputation as a performer of exceptional range, intellect, and integrity. She rejected the pressure to conform to typical Hollywood standards of glamour, choosing instead to pursue complex, character-driven roles. Her dedication to her craft, her refusal to be typecast, and her almost chameleon-like ability to disappear into a role established her as a new kind of leading lady, one who valued substance over spectacle. The foundation laid in this period would support a career that spanned decades and defied trends. Meryl Streep's early biography is not only the story of a gifted actress rising to prominence, it is the story of a woman who brought intelligence, empathy, and authenticity into the mainstream of American cinema. As Meryl Streep transitioned from a promising newcomer into a true cinematic powerhouse, the 1980s and 1990s became the defining decades of her peak, years that solidified her legacy as one of the most accomplished and respected actresses of all time. During this period, she not only mastered a wide range of roles across genres, but also broke barriers for women in film, setting new standards for acting excellence. Following her Oscar-winning performance in Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979, Streep entered the 1980s with a series of films that demonstrated her stunning range and emotional depth. In 1982, She delivered one of the most haunting and critically acclaimed performances of her career in Sophie's Choice. Portraying Sophie Zawistowski, a Polish Holocaust survivor with a tragic past, Streep immersed herself in the role with heartbreaking authenticity. She learned to speak German and Polish with a flawless accent, and her portrayal was so emotionally raw and layered that it earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. To this day, Sophie's Choice is widely regarded as one of the greatest performances in film history. Throughout the 1980s, Streep continued to choose daring and complex roles. She played a factory worker and union activist in Silkwood, 1983, a drug-addicted mother in Ironweed, 1987, and a woman caught in a tumultuous love triangle in The French Lieutenant's Woman, 1981. Each performance brought her further acclaim and multiple Academy Award nominations. By the end of the decade, she had already received a remarkable 8 Oscar nominations, a record for an actress at the time. In the 1990s, as many actresses struggled to maintain momentum in an industry often dismissive of women over 40, Streep reinvented herself. She transitioned into roles that balanced maturity with vitality. In The Bridges of Madison County, 1995, she portrayed Francesca Johnson, a quiet, married Italian woman who falls in love with a National Geographic photographer played by Clint Eastwood. The film was both a commercial and critical success, and Streep's performance was praised for its emotional honesty and restrained intensity. It marked another turning point in her career, proving that she could remain a leading lady in deeply romantic and character-driven stories, even as she aged. Beyond dramatic roles, Streep also explored comedy and satire with impressive flair. In Death Becomes Her, 1992, she showcased her comedic timing and physicality, while Postcards from the Edge, 1990, based on Carrie Fisher's semi-autobiographical novel, allowed Streep to play a flawed but deeply human character with humor and pathos. These roles added another layer to her already diverse body of work and demonstrated her refusal to be typecast. During her peak years, Streep became known for her meticulous preparation, intellectual approach to characters, and her uncanny ability to embody real-life figures. Her portrayals of historical characters, such as Karen Silkwood, Lindy Chamberlain, A Cry in the Dark, 1988, and later Margaret Thatcher, reflected not only technical brilliance, but a deep emotional understanding of the human condition. By the end of the 1990s, Meryl Streep had firmly established herself not just as a leading actress, but as a cultural institution. She had defied Hollywood conventions, redefined what it meant to be a female star, and set a new gold standard for acting. Filmmakers sought her out, critics revered her, and audiences trusted that any film with her name attached would offer something thoughtful, transformative, and profound. Her peak years were not marked by flashy stardom or celebrity spectacle, but by an unshakable commitment to her craft. Meryl Streep became the actress against whom all others would be measured, a living legend whose work during these decades reshaped cinema itself. While Meryl Streep is widely regarded as one of the most respected and admired actresses in cinematic history, her journey has not been without its share of criticism, challenges, and controversy. Unlike many Hollywood stars who have faced tabloid scandals or dramatic falls from grace, Streep's controversies have largely stemmed from her outspoken views, her choices in roles, and her place as a public intellectual in a deeply polarized industry. Though she has managed to maintain a dignified and poised public image, even she has not been immune to scrutiny and moments of backlash. One of the earliest challenges Streep faced was not a public scandal, but an internal crisis, an industry-wide ageism that threatened to marginalize her in the 1990s and early 2000s. Despite her extraordinary resume, as she reached her 40s and 50s, film roles became less frequent and more one-dimensional. The lack of complex leading roles for women of her age became a pressing issue, and Streep spoke candidly about this injustice. Instead of retreating, she fought against the stereotype, using her voice and influence to call for better representation of older women in media. Her advocacy, although deeply respected by many, drew criticism from those who believed she was being too outspoken or critical of Hollywood's longstanding systems. Streep has also stirred political controversy with her unapologetic liberalism and her tendency to use public platforms to speak on social issues. Most notably, her speech at the 2017 Golden Globe Awards, delivered while accepting the Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Achievement Award, sparked widespread debate. In the speech, she condemned then-President Donald Trump's mockery of a disabled journalist and emphasized the importance of protecting journalism, diversity, and the arts. Her comments were praised as brave and powerful by supporters, but were fiercely criticized by conservative voices who accused her of being elitist and out of touch with average Americans. Trump himself responded on Twitter, calling her overrated, which only further amplified the media frenzy. Another controversy emerged in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein scandal, which rocked Hollywood and led to the rise of the #MeToo movement. While Streep was not personally accused of any wrongdoing, some critics questioned how much she and other powerful actors knew about Weinstein's behavior. Actress Rose McGowan publicly criticized Streep, suggesting that her silence had contributed to the culture of complicity in the industry. Streep responded with a firm denial, stating that she had no knowledge of Weinstein's abuses and that she was hurt by the accusation. The situation exposed the complicated dynamics of power and silence in Hollywood and placed even a revered figure like Streep under ethical examination. She was also criticized during the Oscar campaign for The Iron Lady, 2011, in which she portrayed former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. While her performance earned widespread praise and won her a third Academy Award, some British critics and Thatcher supporters accused the film of being politically disrespectful and overly sympathetic to a controversial leader. Streep defended the film, noting that it was not meant to be a political endorsement, but rather a nuanced portrait of a complicated woman. Still, the role placed her at the center of a heated debate over historical representation and political legacy. Despite these moments of controversy, Meryl Streep has largely navigated public life with grace and accountability. She has consistently used her influence to advocate for gender equality, environmental causes, and artistic freedom. While she may not be universally admired in every political or cultural circle, she has remained true to her values, refusing to shy away from complex conversations. In truth, the controversies surrounding Streep have not damaged her legacy, but rather enriched it. They have revealed a woman of deep conviction, unafraid to speak her mind or challenge the systems in which she works. Her crises have not been of scandal, but of conscience, an ongoing battle between artistic responsibility, political awareness, and personal integrity. Through it all, Meryl Streep has continued to be a rare figure, not just a master of her craft, but a cultural force who refuses to remain silent in the face of injustice or hypocrisy. As Meryl Streep entered her 6th decade, many might have expected her to slowly retreat from the limelight or settle into a quieter phase of her career. But instead of fading into the background, Streep defied the industry's expectations of aging actresses and embarked on a powerful reinvention, one that not only reaffirmed her relevance in modern cinema, but elevated her to even greater heights. Her journey back was not a comeback in the conventional sense. She had never truly disappeared, but a reassertion of her creative dominance, versatility, and cultural impact in an ever-evolving entertainment landscape. The early 2000s marked the beginning of a new chapter in Streep's career. Rather than being limited by age, she embraced roles that reflected maturity, complexity, and wisdom. Her performance in The Hours, 2002, demonstrated her quiet emotional range, while Adaptation, 2002, offered a wildly different side of her, witty, unpredictable, and darkly comic. The industry and audiences alike began to realize that Streep's artistry was not waning but deepening. These performances signaled that her best work may not have been behind her, but ahead. Her true resurgence into mainstream stardom came in 2006 with The Devil Wears Prada, where she played the icy, formidable fashion editor Miranda Priestly. The role was a revelation, not just because of her commanding performance, but because it resonated across generations. Streep managed to craft a character that was at once terrifying, magnetic, and deeply human. The film became a massive box office success, earning her another Oscar nomination and introducing her to a younger audience who had never seen Sophie's Choice or Kramer vs. Kramer. Miranda Priestly became iconic, and Streep was more celebrated than ever, not just as a dramatic actress, but as a box office draw and pop culture figure. Following The Devil Wears Prada, Streep embraced this new momentum. In 2008, she starred in the musical Mamma Mia, showcasing her singing and comedic timing in a role full of joy and vulnerability. The film was a massive global hit, particularly among female audiences, and further solidified her ability to lead commercially successful films well into her 60s. Rather than shying away from lighter roles, she welcomed them, showing that reinvention didn't have to mean abandoning what had come before, but expanding upon it. She continued this path with films like Julie and Julia, 2009, where her portrayal of Julia Child earned critical acclaim and yet another Oscar nomination. She followed this with her Oscar-winning performance in The Iron Lady, 2011, where she portrayed former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher with staggering complexity and insight. It was her third Academy Award win, and it signaled something extraordinary. That Meryl Streep wasn't just surviving in Hollywood. She was thriving in an age group where most actresses are forgotten. Her journey back also included stepping into new formats and technologies. She took roles in television and streaming, appearing in HBO's Big Little Lies, Season 2, 2019, where she portrayed Mary Louise Wright, a grieving, manipulative mother-in-law. Her presence electrified the show, and once again, Streep proved that she could dominate any medium with grace and gravitas. Throughout this era of reinvention, Streep also became a beacon for advocacy. She used her platform to speak out on gender equity, environmental issues, and the importance of the arts. She championed diversity in Hollywood and supported younger female filmmakers and actors. Her activism, combined with her continued artistic output, created a portrait of a woman fully engaged with both her craft and her world. Unlike many actors who reinvent themselves by radically changing course, Streep's return was marked by consistency and excellence, fearlessness in choice, and a willingness to evolve without losing the essence of who she is. She embraced age as a source of power rather than a limitation, showing that reinvention could mean rediscovery, not reinvention of identity, but reinvention of opportunity. Her journey back was not about regaining something lost. It was about expanding her legacy, inspiring others, and reminding the world that talent, authenticity, and integrity never go out of style. Meryl Streep's legacy is one that stretches far beyond her extraordinary list of performances. While her career is studded with awards, box office triumphs, and critical acclaim, her true impact lies in how she transformed the expectations of women in film, elevated the art of acting, and inspired countless generations with her discipline, intelligence, and courage. With a body of work that spans over 5 decades, her influence reaches into the very core of how we define greatness in cinema and beyond. One of the most immediate and measurable aspects of her legacy is her unmatched record in award recognition. With over 20 Academy Award nominations, a feat no other actor has accomplished, Streep has redefined what it means to sustain excellence. Her nominations span decades and genres, from intense dramas like Sophie's Choice to musicals like Into the Woods, illustrating her ability to transform and adapt while always delivering riveting performances. Yet, her legacy is not just about the number of accolades, but the consistency with which she delivers nuanced, deeply human characters who resonate across generations. Meryl Streep also changed the perception of what roles women could play in Hollywood. Early in her career, she refused to accept roles that were superficial or one-dimensional, opting instead for complex women with agency, intellect, and emotional depth. She brought dignity to every character she portrayed, whether it was a Holocaust survivor, a working mother in a custody battle, or a conflicted political leader. In doing so, she blazed a trail for actresses who came after her, proving that a woman could be the center of a film, carry a box office success, and command respect at every level of the industry. Streep's influence also extends into the craft of acting itself. Often described as a chameleon, she is celebrated for her uncanny ability to adopt accents, physical mannerisms, and psychological traits of her characters. Her process, rooted in deep research and emotional empathy, has become a model in drama schools and acting programs around the world. She elevates the acting profession to something almost scholarly, where performance is not only about natural talent, but also about dedication, study, and ethical storytelling. Her presence in the industry has had a significant impact on gender equity and representation. In an industry long dominated by male narratives, Streep's roles often confronted themes like motherhood, trauma, resilience, politics, and aging, subjects rarely explored with such depth. Off-screen, she has been a passionate advocate for women's rights, equal pay, and the inclusion of female voices in film production. Her decision to fund screenwriting labs for women over 40 and her vocal support for female-led projects reflect her commitment to leaving the industry better than she found it. Culturally, Meryl Streep is one of the few actors who has become a symbol beyond the screen. Her name is often used as shorthand for greatness, a benchmark to which others are compared. This iconic status has led to her being referenced in music, television, literature, and public speeches, including by political figures and fellow artists. Her graceful balance between privacy and public presence, humility, and activism has made her not only beloved but respected in a way few celebrities can claim. Streep's legacy also lies in how she has navigated aging in Hollywood. In a field that often sidelines actresses after a certain age, she refused to accept invisibility. Instead, she embraced roles that showcased maturity, wisdom, and emotional depth. In doing so, she dismantled the harmful myth that women lose value as they grow older and demonstrated that the most powerful roles can come later in life. Her influence spans generations. Young actors cite her as their inspiration. Seasoned professionals call her a master of the craft. Directors write roles with her in mind, and audiences flock to her films because they trust in the honesty and quality of her work. In every respect, Meryl Streep has become more than an actress. She is an institution, a teacher, a role model, and a force of cultural transformation. As the industry continues to evolve, Meryl Streep's legacy stands as a reminder that art can be both beautiful and brave, that a woman's voice matters, and that true excellence is not about fame, but about purpose, passion, and integrity. Behind Meryl Streep's luminous career and public grace lies a life shaped not only by triumph, but by moments of profound personal sorrow. Though she has largely maintained her privacy throughout her career, those close to her and those who have studied her life closely understand that her deepest sadness is intimately connected to the loss of her first great love, actor John Cazale. John Cazale, best known for his roles in The Godfather, Dog Day Afternoon, and The Deer Hunter, was a gifted performer whose career, though brief, left a lasting impact on American cinema. Streep met Cazale in the mid-1970s when they were both cast in a Shakespeare in the Park production of Measure for Measure. The two fell deeply in love, and their connection was immediate and profound. Those who saw them together described their relationship as both passionate and deeply respectful, built on mutual admiration for one another's intellect, artistry, and emotional openness. Their time together, however, was tragically cut short. In 1977, Cazale was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer that had metastasized to his bones. He was only 42. Streep, then just beginning to gain momentum in her own career, made the decision to put her professional life on hold to care for him. She stayed by his side through every hospital visit, every treatment, and every moment of pain, refusing to abandon him in his final months. It was a period of intense emotional strain and heartbreak for the young actress. Despite the inevitability of his decline, she never wavered in her love or her commitment. Streep even insisted on working with him in The Deer Hunter, which would become his final film. When the studio considered removing Cazale due to his illness, Streep and co-star Robert De Niro reportedly threatened to walk away unless he remained in the cast. The film went on to be a critical success, but Cazale died in March 1978, before it was released. His death devastated Streep. She later described the experience of losing him as shattering, and those closest to her say that it left a scar that never fully healed. This loss, occurring so early in her personal and professional life, shaped much of Streep's worldview and inner emotional life. It deepened her performances and gave her access to a well of sorrow and compassion that would enrich her work for decades to come. One can see the imprint of that grief in many of her roles, particularly in the raw maternal pain of Sophie's choice, the quiet loneliness of the bridges of Madison County, and the aching vulnerability of August, Osage County. Streep channeled her heartbreak into her art, never exploiting it, but letting it inform the emotional truth of her characters. Though she went on to find love again and built a lasting marriage with sculptor Don Gummer, whom she married just months after Cazale's death, the pain of losing her first love never left her. She rarely speaks about John Cazale in public, not out of avoidance, but perhaps out of reverence for the man he was and for the chapter they shared that remains private and sacred. However, in interviews, when she does mention him, her words are tender and filled with admiration. His influence on her life and her art is undeniable. Meryl Streep's greatest sorrow, then, is not only the loss of a partner, but the pain of unfinished time, the ache of what might have been. That early, searing grief taught her about love, fragility, and the finite nature of life. It shaped the woman behind the accolades and helped forge the emotional strength that defines so many of her roles. The quiet dignity with which she carried that sorrow, without ever making it central to her public persona, speaks volumes about her resilience and humanity. In an industry obsessed with glamour and image, Streep's life reminds us that true depth comes not only from talent, but from the capacity to endure, to feel, and to transform pain into something lasting and meaningful. Her greatest sorrow remains, in many ways, the silent foundation beneath a brilliant and ever-evolving legacy.